We call me in order. And if you would please stand and join me for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there anyone here who would like to give an invocation? We have an Arnie Dinoff to give an invocation. Thank you. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Woodman.
Here.
Alderman Detweiler. Here. Alderman Gemmeyer. Here. Alderman Johnson.
Here.
Alderman Nay.
Here.
Alderman Waters.
Here.
Alderman Wilson.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Okay. All right, so as we get moving here, just wanted to, we'll start with the consent agenda for the evening. Does anybody on the board have any questions or concerns about what's listed here on the consent agenda this evening? Never heard? Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
By Alderman A, second by Alderman Detweiler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. The consent agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is the public comment section. In recognition of the value of public comment on city issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on matters of community interest, the Board of Aldermen invites residents and other interested parties to speak before the board. I would ask anyone wishing to speak before the board to submit a completed speaker form to the city clerk here. Once your name is called, please approach the podium to address the board. To make certain all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, I would ask that each speaker limit their comments to 3 minutes in duration. Furthermore, no person will be permitted to speak more than once during the public comment portion of our meeting. Please keep in mind that this is not a question and answer session. The purpose of public comment, public hearing portion of the agenda is to allow the public to comment. Please do not expect a response to the comments at this time. Hey, clerk, do we have anyone who wishes to speak during public comment?
Mike Faulkner.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Board of Aldermen, for the record, my name is Mike Faulkner. I'm Vice President of Sterling Engineering, office at 5055 New Bond Gardner, St. Louis 63129. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. At the last board meeting, I was requested of us to provide the board with copies of the plan that would demonstrate the fence that was in question along the southern boundary line. Those plans, along with building plans that show the 2-foot addition to the garages for the required receptacles, trash receptacles be stored within the garage. Those plans also were delivered to the city last Friday, and hopefully those packets are at your dais today. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have now based on those plans or at the board reading. If there's any discussion or any questions that need raised at that moment, I'd be happy to answer those questions at that time too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Faulkner.
Brian Rout.
Good evening, Brian Rout, resident in Garden Prairie, 25th year, also the owner of property. Just wanted to mention, we're handing out some little things here, 3D renderings of the existing home committee drawings that you guys already have in your packets to give you guys a little bit more visualization of how nice the product is built. I've been working with Blue Onyx now for several months on other projects to put together a great home. I think the project will be nice. As a resident for 27 years here, I've been involved with designing and building and developing from Wing Haven to Tyson Corner and some other properties in the area. And it's nice to see that corner turn into something other than another gas station or quick shop or something. So, you guys have any questions? Free.
Thank you.
AC Agostino.
Members of the Board of Aldermen, I take public service very seriously in the public office with the oath of office to a T. I think it's about serving others and not yourselves. The community college trustee of our community college district and school boards, our school boards of our major school districts of the county all have over $300 million in their budgets. Means they get zero salary and zero benefits from the school district of the community college. It's true public service. The city of Springfield, population 170,000 residents and growing. There are 4 wards and 4 at-large wards that serve citywide. The 4 wards are 42,500 people. And that's what their pay is as elected officials, as aldermen. Zero. Absolutely zero. And it's been that way for a long time. These shenanigans, it's turning into an entitlement issue of some of the people up on the dais. And it's taking advantage of power and control. This is about community service, not how you can make more monthly salaries and to supplement your incomes. It's really comes down to serving people and fixing potholes and doing right by people. I ask you to say no and vote a solid no to only pay raises for yourselves. Stop having your hand out expecting more. Now you get meals on the taxpayer dime. How much is that costing the city on a monthly basis? When Mayor Zucker, he mixed that and put that out of the budget. Filing for month 1, 2, and 3 will reopen through December 30th at 5 p.m. with the city clerk. Anyone who votes yes, I will round the people up in the community to run for public office before filing closes if you don't have an incumbent, or you don't have a challenger as of today. I am sick and tired of entitlement in government officials with greed, power, control, access, and money, not necessarily in that order. What you pay the city administrator in your dramatic increase in salary is ridiculous. It's shameful. This position is an easy cakewalk and sweeping up of a huge salary when the people also, this person getting the maximum payout of the loggers, which is the municipal pension system for local and county officials. The bottom line is public service is serving others and real public service, not profiting on the backs of citizens. Use your God-given noggin. Do not be selfish. Defeat any payers whatsoever or you face the competition. So 5 of you retired And I believe that this would be a supplement of your income. I ask you to do the right thing and say no to this, bill number 2559. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dino.
Let me just say one other thing. Happy holidays and a very happy new year to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Dino.
Andrew Collins.
As you heard, my name is Sandra Collins. I live at 731 Hillier Court. I've been sitting through these meetings while you all have been discussing the Stillwater Grove. And I would just like to reiterate our largest concern. Our two concerns are two. First of all, water runoff. And the second thing is privacy. The reason I have a concern about water runoff is because the wall the retaining wall at the back of our property, we are responsible. As the homeowner, we are responsible for that wall. We own our property, the ground, be simple. And so if anything happens to that wall, we have to pay for it. It is not something the association pays for. So that is a concern. I realize that something will go on that property. If I control the world, it would just remain as it is, but I know that's not realistically. The possibilities are the residential proposal, also commercial or perhaps apartment. My concern is if you put a commercial building or apartment behind us, that would probably have an effect on what I could sell my seller for if I came to sell. It would not be as desirable as other villas that are in our project. So I just request that if as you're making a decision about what to do with that property, that you pretend you're living in my villa and decide what you would want to be built behind you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins.
Tyler Brown.
Patty Brown, 2646 Highway 109, Wildwood, Missouri. Thanks for having me for those Aldermen and Mayor. So I just want to reinforce and kind of reassure that the products that we're building there is going to be top notch and top quality. We've hired on the best people in the industry. Make sure that happens. Kind of like what Billy, what they're stating. We're looking for value, so we're going to make sure that's top notch and built by the best people that are in this industry. And we have some of the designers, architects here, most of them are very well known and have been in this industry for 20, 30 plus years. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to address those questions, but we're going to make sure we live up to what we're saying and build an amazing product. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Third on speakers.
Anyone for public hearing? Okay, moving on to new business. First up is Bill 2560 for new business. Can I have a motion to read Bill 2560 for the first time?
Second.
You filed and then Detweiler, second by Alderman Gittlemeyer, all in favor? Any opposed? None heard. City Attorney, Bill 2560. Good time by Detweiler.
Bill number 2560, an ordinance of the city of Diamond County, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute an agreement by and between the city of Diamond County and the Bear Haven Residential Homeowners Association for the city's assumption of electric service payment responsibility for certain streetlights along Bear Haven Boulevard.
City Attorney, we've discussed this a couple of times in work session prior to this going on the agenda tonight. It'd be a one reading tonight as it stands. Any discussion from the Board of Aldermen, any further discussion from the board on this particular ordinance? Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Mayor, can you confirm, you said it's one reading tonight? While we're doing this, just to clarify, please.
Because we're executing an agreement. and contracts and agreements, they require 2 readings. Unless we ask for a special reason to, emergency. Yeah, no, I mean, unless there is a special, an urgency or a special reason you need to adopt it sooner.
Further question? Unheard? Okay. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, Bill 2561. May I entertain a motion to read Bill 2561 for the first time by title only? Moved by Alderman Nay. Second by Alderman Gettemeyer. All in favor? Any opposed? None heard. City Attorney, can you read Bill 2561 by title only for the first?
Bill number 2561, an ordinance of the city of Garden County, Missouri, amending section 525.010, subsection O of section 525.020, and section 525.030 of the municipal code of the city of Garden County pertaining to occupancy inspections.
Any discussion on Bill 2561?
On page 2 of the bill, it talks about the prospective purchaser or tenant need to obtain a certificate. Why would we not require the person selling the home or renting the home to have to do that? Because if they've made any changes that are out of code, then they should be responsible to fix, to bring it up to code. So am I reading it wrong, or is that?
No, you're reading it correctly. There's any obligation of the owner who is occupying it to have their inspection. And the seller, the after sale wouldn't have any control. They could even comply. I'm sorry, from the middle of I'm not saying that they're necessarily responsible. However, they would be responsible if they moved into the house without the occupancy permit. You don't identify who's responsible to get it. We simply say you cannot occupy it without having a permit. I understand on the most real estate contracts, there's a responsibility, at least in the waiver context, of getting an occupancy permit. And even sometimes in the sales context as well. There's also certain warranties that are issued about the appropriate, and it's compliant with code and things of that nature. But that's not something we can control from an ordinance perspective. Those are contractual obligations. I can't hear who is ever talking. And the investment is that there is nothing that the city of Garden County can do that would require a person selling their property to convey it either in an as-is condition or with a past occupancy permit at the time of sale. Well, number one, we weren't asked to do that. The direction was to put this in the position as it was prior to the change to the non-owner occupied, which is what that was the direction in the board to make it applicable to all properties, not just owner occupied, which was resorting it back to what was amended in the early 2020s. In terms of having a code requirement that requires a contractual provision, I'd have to look at that. I have my doubts about it, but I'd have to look at that. So just as an example, the city of Darwin versus the city of Darwin, you need an occupancy or city also, no. You need a home inspection done and a past inspection done for occupancy purposes. That has to be done before the person can occupy the property, but it is the responsibility of the person, the party selling the property to begin the process, if you will, of that inspection. For the purposes of determining what needs to be repaired, to be in compliance with the requirements of the city who adopt a national code typically as their guideline. Where are we going to be different from that? Well, we have a guideline, and it's not, I think ours is less than like the property maintenance code, if I remember correctly. But it has, nothing really changes what we currently have in terms of the standards that are being reviewed.
And we need to revisit this again for the first reading.
Yeah, I don't think that was the intent
Yeah.
when we wanted this change. Maybe we didn't explain it correctly, but I think the intent was that we wanted a home to be safe and follow the code for whatever codes are, that before someone else can occupy that home. Due to the fact that a lot of sales are going on right now, as is, which I understand that's a different animal, but they're also going on without inspections in order for people to get the contracts approved or accepted. So I just want to make sure that every home that gets sold in this city is up to standard and up to code. And however we need to word this or do it, that was my intent. So I guess I just didn't make myself clear when I asked for this.
All we did, again, the direction we were given is to make code that looks now, to all communities of residential property.
Yeah. And I thought,
And that's what we did.
and I thought that would have been on the put on the shoulders of the seller, not of the person that needs to occupy the home. So, yeah, again, I guess that was my error, but I would like that to be corrected.
And a lot of times, upon the person purchasing the property, relieving the seller on their obligation as if it is purchased in an as-is condition, as is stated in the contract.
But the city will not have access to that contract. So we have no idea.
That is true, but again, it shifts the responsibility between the parties, but up without the as-is transaction, it still should reside as the responsibility of the seller.
Now, we have done it in the past where we can have either party responsible. In other jurisdictions, I have seen that. And it's just about who can the city as a practical matter enforce it against. And that's part of the issue. Like, you may have no idea how to find someone. Now, if in working with buyer and occupies it, you may be able to identify them. But I'm just trying to address practical issues and investment.
This is a first reading, so we're gonna get a bit of time, I think, to discuss this, and if I may recommend, we could potentially take this offline. And then if at the next meeting we have some additional amendments, we could move forward as amended or bring it back and just kill it and come back and try it again. So,
Yeah, we'll certainly review it. I'll review the, I want to know as well for the code change.
okay. Good discussion. Where were we? All right, item number 2. All right. So moving forward, item number 3 is Bill 2562. Motion on Bill 2562 by title only for the first time. No. Moved by Alderman Wilson, second by Alderman Meyer. All in favor? Any opposed? Unheard. City Attorney, please read Bill 562 by title only.
Bill number 2562, an ordinance of the city of Garden Grove, Missouri, amending various sections of chapter 600 of the municipal code of the city of Garden Grove, Missouri, providing for the regulation of the sale of intoxicating liquors.
So this has been discussed at work session previously, but this is effectively the city levying additional restrictions on THC related products. And city attorney would just clear them up, but then we could summarize for those who may not have we completely dialed into this. I know it's only the first reading, but it's maybe new to some folks. I want to make sure everybody.
Yeah, what this bill does is prohibits any business operating with a liquor license in the city from having a liquor license if they're selling consumable industrial hemp. Anything that is sold as industrial hemp, and we define what that term means as a something that does not require a state license generally for the sale of marijuana.
So that goes for gas stations and everything, or?
But I would like they would impact the
We simply need to remove those items that fall in that category off the shelf.
So I got a question, Alderman Johnson here. Would that also include for the gas stations and that also?
yes. Anyone with a license, so a gas station, bar, restaurant, grocery store.
All right. The other thing I got, and I guess my question to that is on the gas station, we're allowing them to sell alcohol to somebody driving up to a gas station, but we're not going to allow THC to be sold. That's my comment on that. The other thing is if you read in that bill, also it talks about city parks and all that under our liquor consumption. So in other words, we cannot serve alcohol in our city parks, which we do now.
No, it doesn't prohibit it.
It's and let me get to it here. If you read the bill, it talks about any city-owned property. I'm having trouble scrolling through this. Consumption of alcohol is sorry, my phone crashed.
According to section G of the ordinance.
Alderman Johnson, do you not ask a question while you're looking at it?
Hold on.
Check section G of the ordinance. I believe it's my third page.
Yeah, just a second here. My phone crashed on me here.
It would be page 4 of the ordinance. Probably, if I'm looking at it right, it would be page 4 of the ordinance and likely section G. Within the PDF, it may help.
Yes, under section G.
Yeah, so two things on that. Number one is nothing in section G has changed. That's what exists in the code now. Second, there's no reference to public park. It makes reference to public place, which is defined and is defined, but does not include public parks.
It says public way of the city or any parking lot. So, but that's our public part of the city, correct?
Well, we are public.
And I just want to make sure we're clarified on while we're looking at this bill, that it doesn't prohibit us from serving alcohol in our park.
Well, so again, public parks are not referenced as public places under that code section. And again, this is what the code says now. This is not a change.
Right, I understand that. I was just reviewing.
Yeah.
I was just reviewing what we do have in place. I just want to make sure we're not violating anything.
And again, in subsection G1, it says for the purpose of this section, the term public place shall mean any public street, highway, alley, sidewalk, thoroughfare, or other public way of the city or any parking lot. And none of that would include a city park.
Okay, just clarifying that. I just, but then going back to where we're not serving, we're gonna eliminate any THC that can be sold in the gas station, yet we're gonna continue to sell alcohol to drivers of vehicles in those gas stations. I mean, I think that's kind of hypocritical, but that's my opinion.
I have one quick question. What establishments are selling it right now as we speak? Do we have a read on them? Which ones? Which one? I don't know. But like we have the new shop right next to Town Square. We have one coming in. They sell stuff like that.
That was what I brought up.
No, I'm talking about currently, not the new guy. I'm talking about currently.
So most of the liquor stores do.
The short answer is I don't know. I have no first knowledge on this individual stores that have it.
We haven't, yeah. To the best of my knowledge, and I'll defer to the.
Just as a general, I mean, this is not a government issue.
Yes.
But this is a property conversation.
Okay, that's good to know. That is good to know. And what other cities have other cities done the same platform right now?
As far as I'm not aware of any that have done anything yet.
Got it. Okay. And then we have a shop right again by Town Square. Like maybe they should how can I say this? They came here probably selling this already. Should they be notified about this information that we're doing this? Or before we put this in order? Right in front of Town Square diner, not diner, Love Road, yeah. Okay, so they can see. I was trying to understand the difference. Thank you.
Mixture about all with the
Thank you. I understand the difference. Okay. Thank you. This clarification. Yeah. Let me clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Jim is item H. And I know this may not have been a change, but I don't quite understand why that item is in there. How it,
That is not a change. And as of now, we need to be the starting.
Yeah, I'd say we could potentially similarly look at it, even as we go into the second reading once again, and determine if that is something we want to keep in there or not. I would support removing it personally, based on the fact that if somebody didn't have, it's a bit unusual and arbitrary in my opinion, but I would agree.
I think a lot of the restaurants or even eating establishments periodically have, someone playing music or whatever, and I don't see where that has anything to do with consumption of alcohol or THC, so. But,
Okay. Yeah, I agree. That's probably pretty easy to do. So maybe if we go to the second reading, I reckon the rest of the board feels that way, that section H, which prohibits live entertainment if you have sell intoxicating liquors, to put it shortly for the audience to understand what she's talking about. So there's a lot of I might have charged that for money. There's a lot of legalese in here that I think that's what some of the aldermen are alluding to. That is some cases, as Alderman Johnson pointed out, a bit confusing. As anybody knows, legal documents, which ordinances are legal documents, and you sometimes look a bit confusing. But in this case, it's pretty clear. It just says that if you sell intoxicating liquor, to our establishment, and you're not allowed to have live entertainment. So if we wanted to have a guy playing a guitar, we had a restaurant, and you want to play the guitar, that would be legal. According to it. Or am I misreading?
What's the definition of live entertainment? Because it doesn't say that means somebody can't sing and play music. I'm wondering if it's a difference between paid event, that's where you can pay to get in, versus live entertainment if we're charged entertainment versus a restaurant having a small 1 or 50. Just need to review the code.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, so we'll take a look at it between now and the next reading of that book. Yeah. Okay. Good points. Okay. Next item on the agenda, item number 4, Bill 2563. A motion to Bill 2563 by title only for the first time. By Alderman Detweiler, second by Alderman Gittlemeyer, all in favor? All opposed? Third return, please read Bill 2563 by title only for the first time.
Bill number 2563, an ordinance of the city of Darlington, Missouri, authorizing and directing the submission of a ballot proposition to the qualified voters of the city of Darlington, consider imposing a local use tax at the same rate as the local sales tax if the city of Darlington for purchasing from out-of-state vendors that exceed a total of $2,000 in a calendar year.
We had multiple discussions about this as well in work sessions. This is something that I think we're probably one of the last cities that move forward to put this on the ballot. Any discussion from the board on this? Any further discussion?
Yes, Alderman Johnson here. I am not in favor of any taxes for residents of Darting Prairie, especially when we're looking to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on parks that are leased and inaccessible, and thousands of dollars for displays for 4th of July. I am not in favor of any additional tax for our residents.
Thank you, Alderman Johnson. Any additional discussion?
I'll get a clarification as to the last part of the ordinance there that says the city of Darlington for the purchase from out-of-state vendors that exceed a total of $2,000 in a calendar year. Well, this is referring to vendors who sell more than $2,000 worth of merchandise to residents of Darting Prairie. That this is the resident to purchase from out-of-state vendors in amounts in excess of $2,000. For some reason, if I'm a resident of Darting Prairie and I purchase $1,500 in merchandise, but from 10 different companies, I pay no tax. You are not obligated to self-report the use tax. But if I am a resident and I purchase $2,500 in merchandise from, again, same number of vendors, then I'm responsible for paying the percent tax as requested by the ordinance on those purchases as an individual, just as you are for the county and the state currently. Yeah. And let me answer this. From the city of Darting Prairie knows I make these purchases, and it is a self-reporting, usually self-limited revenue, just like it is for the state and county.
I thought that this was so that the sellers of the merchandise would know that we collect this tax, just like O'Fallon collects it and other cities collect it. And so therefore, they would know to charge this tax to the purchaser.
And some out of state do collect it, admitted, but not all.
So,
And if it's collected and admitted by the out of state seller, it is not collected.
So how do I make sure as a resident that I remember to do this? If I'm a self-employed, does that make sense? I'm asking.
Right, and this has been, just to clarify, this has been the law for years, it's information in Trace County and the state. And nothing in terms of that requirement has changed, except that the city now has it done. So a self-employment requirement for those places is currently yes in the city of Toronto.
Well, you're already supposed to be doing this in the part of the county. But now this is in the state. But that's it. So this is essentially, my understanding of this, and I understand that's a little confusing, but right now, the city, if you buy something within Garden Prairie City, if you go to Target, Nooks, anything you buy there, it's a 2.5% sales tax that the city has used. It's however long, and it helps sustain operations for the city. In this case, is online sales and Amazon orders have gone through the roof, and all those are untapped. So sales taxes from the people who used to go and for the JC, the city does not receive any. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I cannot hear Blake.
So what we need to do is put this on, pass this bill so that Guardian Prairie gets their portion and takes it away from O'Fallon, which is collecting it now. And they're saying this is a great deal, a lousy deal for us at Guardian Prairie, but a great deal for them. So let's get it changed.
Okay. Again, first reading only this evening, unless there is a need for, we do need to get it on the ballot. We could push that forward with a second reading, but I would defer to the board on that decision. If you have time, but it would give the city clerk. No? Just,
There you go. It's going to be downstairs.
I don't know what the date is to get the submission in. Yeah, I think we have time.
time. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Sounds good. So first reading only tonight, and moving on. Item number 5, bill number 2564. A motion. First reading of bill 2564. Entertainment.
Second.
Get second by Alderman Wilson, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Please read bill 2564 by title only for the first time.
Bill number 2564, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute a deposit agreement guaranteeing improvements with letter of credit signed between the city and Bank of Washington, guaranteeing the construction and completion of improvements regarding vehicles.
Any discussion?
I was even telling me a little about it because we were wondering how this came about. I don't remember talking about this. Maybe it's just me. So this is just a standard escrow agreement for the Garden View Apartments project that was approved by the board. Yeah, this is an administrative task. We're just accepting the escrow so they can move forward with construction.
You've already made the approval decision. The standard practice has been to approve escrows in one meeting, to do both meetings in one meeting for the escrows, correct?
Alderman Johnson, I just want to make sure you heard that.
Say that again.
It has been the city's standard practice to accept escrow agreements, to approve escrow agreements in one meeting.
This is administrative.
Yes, I understand that.
And everybody understands that. Before I
Yes,
make
I
a
understand.
second to read for a second time. I make a, entertain a motion to read Bill 2564 by title only for the second time. Second, moved by Alderman Detweiler, second by Alderman Wilson, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
I'm assuming that I was, okay. City Attorney, please read Bill 2564 by title only for the second time.
Bill number 25/64. An ordinance of the city of Garden County, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute a deposit agreement guaranteeing improvements with letter of credit by and between the city and Bank of Washington, guaranteeing the construction and completion of improvements for garden vehicles.
For all those in the audience, this is a part of the bill that was approved quite some time ago. This is an administrative task, this is one escrow and that's, I think we talked about a little bit, just to clarify a little bit, this was approved 1 to 2 years ago. Okay, that being said, we get a motion for a really all of them. The second, that line, second, Alderman Wilson, all in favor? Aye. Let's call the roll.
Alderman Mann.
Aye.
Alderman Gettleman. Alderman Detweiler. Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Williams. All right. Motion passes and ordinance becomes ordinance number 2393.
I now declare Bill 564, ordinance number 2393. All right, thank you. Next up, Bill 2565, an ordinance of the city of Dartmouth Prairie authorizing, Bill 2565. Come on, day. That's in a motion to read Bill 2565 by title only for the first time. Moved by Alderman Gettlemeyer, second by Alderman Detweiler. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. City Attorney, please. Read Bill 2565 by title only for the first time.
Bill number 2565, an ordinance of the city of Garden County, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with First Capital Advisors LLC with government affairs and legislative consulting services.
Any discussion on Bill 2565?
This is Alderman Johnson. Isn't this something we put the committee together just recently, last meeting, to do a lot of these tasks?
The committee is going to be a voice for the city, but this is going to be an action on the Jefferson, as well as other entities with them. The committee is a standing body of people that are trying to figure out a way to get access to the highway and get access to Garden Prairie from the highway. That is their committed task and purpose for their task force. That is not the purpose of this ordinance.
Okay.
I do have a question. Before we go forward with this, is there a plan that we have, or we are looking for them to come up with? My concern is if we're looking for any public plan, we might not get what we want. So is there a plan in place where this is the goal we're trying to reach? Like, for instance, you said an exit or anything like that. Is there a plan in place?
Yes, there's a plan in place.
Can you talk about it, or is
Well, we're going to approach the MoDOT to see if they will access Garden Prairie. There's a number of ones. There's some that make more sense than others, so obviously we'll talk about those first. We've looked at the things that have been done on 70, and O'Fallon's has utilized this motive in the way they've done it, and it's worked well for them. Now you can get almost off the freeway anywhere in O'Fallon, but we can't get off the freeway here. What we need is a way off and then way back on. And so that's what we're asking. And so in regard to this, the consultant is the one who is our voice in Jefferson City.
well, I mean, yeah, O'Fallon took all our land. That is true. So they messed us up pretty bad. So in the past, but I guess I'm saying for some residents, this is what they're at. This is kind of what they want. They don't want the highway exits and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I think like Carla was saying, this will bring more business to us. Is that correct? Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
Well, in regard to that,
So with a company like this, Colorado has done the same thing and it got their exit, correct?
correct. So we've tried this in years past, and it hasn't worked out. We didn't have a consultant. So we'd be remiss as a board of aldermen if we didn't try. Because otherwise, our choice is obviously we have to raise taxes in order to compensate and do road maintenance and all the things that need to be done in our city. So for the public, you can imagine what they'd like us to do. Do we spend a little bit on this consultant, or do we spend megabucks on our projects in the future? Because we can't get the tax revenue that we could possibly be getting.
Big box stores are not attractive, which is this property up here, where we already have in our economic center of our city, is not as, it's not as attractive because of the highway access issue. And Kathy offhand was our estimated operating budget. All right, never mind. So we're talking, you get one big box store and that changes the dynamics of a lot of how we operate. And as he said, it could enable us to lower tax. But if we don't have the access, if we don't get the commercial, it's strange. This is every mayor that I've talked to from the beginning till now has sought to do this. And this is a new way. I think continuing to try and pursue the same old method over and over again. Nay was saying is not really a smart choice. This is a novel method of trying to accomplish the same thing with the task force and this combined flipping. That would work. So that's, and I think that's, I appreciate the comments. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, any additional thoughts on it?
Mayor, I'd like to ask for a second reading on this bill this evening due to the legislative session beginning in early January. And I'll just point out to the board and the public that this has been discussed twice at public meetings. The first time was at our budget work session in October, and the second time was at the work session December 3rd.
Okay. So can I entertain a motion for second reading of Bill 2565 by title only? With Alderman Detweiler, second by Alderman Gittlemeyer, all in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, you guys have it. Can you please read Bill 2565 by title only for the second time?
Bill number 2565, an ordinance of the city of Garden Grove, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute the professional services agreement with First Capital Advisors LLC for government affairs and legislative consulting services.
Any further discussion about 2565? And heard, motion roll call vote. Moved by Alderman Nay. Second by Alderman Gittlemeyer, all in favor? Aye. You opposed? Okay. One opposition. Two opposition. So.
I said nay.
Oh, we did not hear you.
Johnson, Alderman said nay.
Okay, gotcha. I'll split the vote. Aye. City clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Wilson,
Nay.
Alderman Johnson,
Nay.
Alderman Detweiler, Alderman Gittlemeyer, Alderman Yang,
Aye.
Mayor Waters. Mayor's 2 days.
Aye.
Motion passes. Becomes ordinance number 2394.
I now declare Bill 2565 ordinance number 2392. Okay, moving on to old business. First item on the agenda is Bill 2554. The first reading of this was on November 19th, 2025. The second reading was December 3rd, 2025. There have been 2 readings. At this point, it would simply be, is that correct? Any further discussion on Bill 2552?
Yes, Alderman Johnson. Yes, I perceive they presented us, and as I look in my packet, all the information we requested, such as the fence and the additional to the garages. So I would move for a roll call vote.
Motion roll call vote by Alderman Johnson.
I'm sorry, you went too fast. I have a quick question.
Okay.
Mr. Young, quick question. What was the piece that we needed in the contract to make it that we talked about last week? Not the fence, wording in the contract. Yes. Next thing, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry. So I second.
Okay, second by Alderman. Yes, sir. Second by Alderman Wilson, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
City clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Detweiler, Alderman Johnson,
Aye.
Alderman Gittlemeyer, Alderman Yang,
Nay.
Alderman Waters,
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Yes, please.
Nay.
Motion carries.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. If the people don't have their mic on, I don't know what the vote was.
The vote was 3 yeas, 3 nays. Mayor broke the tie with the moon. It failed.
Next item on the agenda is Bill 2555. First reading was 11/19/25. Entertain a reading for second reading for the second time by title only.
Second.
All in favor? Second. First,
Give them out, 7.
Alderman Gittlemeyer, second by Alderman Wilson, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
City Attorney, please read Bill 2555 by title only for the second.
Bill number 2555, an ordinance of the city of Garden Grove, Missouri, approving a conditional use permit for certain property commonly known as Stillwater Grove.
Any further discussion? None heard. Entertain a motion for a roll call vote.
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Johnson, second by Alderman Wilson, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Alderman Waters. Alderman May.
Nay.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Gettlemeyer. Alderman Waters. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Detmeier. 3 yeas, 3 nays.
Nay.
Mayor broke the tie. Motion failed.
The third item for old business is Bill 2559. Read once on December 3rd, 2025. Entertain a motion for a second reading by title only. So moved by Alderman Wilson, second by Alderman Gittlemeyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Alderman Johnson, the nay. 1 nay. City Attorney, please read Bill 2559 by title only for the second time.
Bill number 2559, an ordinance of the city of Garden Grove, Missouri, changing the compensation for the Board of Aldermen of the city.
Any further discussion on Bill 2559? Alderman Johnson, any further discussion?
No, I just don't think that we need additional compensation. I didn't know I was getting paid when I first took this job to begin with.
All right, thanks. There's been a motion for a roll call vote. Moved by Alderman Gittlemeyer, second by Alderman Wilson, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? City Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman May.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Nay.
Alderman Gettlemeyer. Alderman Detmeier. Alderman Waters. Alderman Wilson. 3 yeas, 2 nays. Motion passes. Becomes ordinance number 2395.
I now declare Bill 2559, ordinance number 2395. Okay, moving on to Officer and Staff Communications, City Attorney. City Engineer is not here. All right, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you, Mayor, and the board, and all of our tremendous staff for the hard work this year. We've accomplished a lot, and I really have to say that we have a great team, and I'm proud of them and proud of all of the things that we've accomplished together. I also want to mention that City Hall will be closed for the holidays, December 24th, 25th, and 26th. We will also be closed December 31st, January 1st, and 2nd.
Thank you. City or Alderman. Any further comments or discussion by the Alderman?
Will you bring up that gentleman here?
This would be the time to do it. Yes, sir.
All right, I've got one item. For all those who drive on South Outer Road, you may have seen a gentleman who stops and picks up trash. And so you need to be very mindful of him. But he'll stop in the middle of the road, get out of his car, leave his car door open, and go pick up the trash and then wander back to his car. So we need to find a way we can address that with him so that he doesn't. I got 2 calls this morning where he stopped on the South Outer Road and he almost got hit. So for his longevity, we need to figure out how we can help him avoid.
Yeah, it's definitely a thank you for that, Alderman. It's definitely a tricky situation with that, and I'll talk to the city administrator and see if maybe we can identify him and maybe have a discussion with him and have the police go and maybe just talk to him about the hazards of stopping on the road to pick up trash. Thank you. Anything else from the Alderman?
I just wanted to thank everybody for being here tonight and wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And I apologize to the Ward 2 people who came for 6 p.m. and didn't realize we were having the 6 p.m. But
Anybody else? Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We've had quite a few people in attendance in the last month or so. It's usually pretty sparse in here. Usually you get a couple, 2 or 3 people. And but I just think it's really important. And I started to do this as an alderman a few years ago, and I think it's important to still do that. I want to thank everybody for coming out and participating in your city's government. Sometimes we're driven by certain things, but I do want to take a moment while we have a captive audience to encourage everybody to continue to come out. There's a lot that happens in these meetings. This has been the busiest I think we've had all year. We've had a lot on the agenda. So I want to thank everybody for sticking with us through this agenda and listening to all the things. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody have after the meeting. I did hear a few folks, in the background up there. So feel free to come up to the dais afterwards, or we'll come down there and talk to you. A lot of the aldermen feel the same way and like that. I want to thank our police officer Tom for coming out tonight and watching over the rough and rowdy crowd we got here, and echoing Alderman Detweiler's sentiments. So I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We won't see anybody here on board after this. This is our last meeting, and then moving into 2026. It's been an exciting year. We've got a lot going on with the city, and thank you guys for coming out. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Alderman Gettemeyer, second by Alderman Wilson. All in favor? Any opposed? This meeting adjourned.